to make sure we get time to get these all in here. So this is MakeGeeking. Just a bunch of nerdy tips and tricks for making and stuff in your makerspace and things that you do. I'm already pretty jazzed and pumped up. We just ran an unconference make session actually right before. So some of you are walking in going, what in the world is going on up front? We had an LED session yesterday and we ran out of time. So we were making lightsabers and gummy bear lights and flashlights and all this. I love seeing grown adults just playing. I just love it. So I'm already feeling pretty good. My name is Aaron Maurer, Coffee Truck Books. I worked for Mississippi Bend ABA after 14 years at a middle school with 2 makerspaces with another instructional coach, part of project-based learning. I have a website, Coffee for the Brain. This is where all the resources are going to be. So it's on the iTech link in there as well. This whole slide deck will be posted after the session. So I'm going to go through a lot of ideas. None of these are going to require you to go have to do a book study or go get your PhD or take 14 credits to learn this stuff. This is like things you can go back and do tomorrow. But if I go through one, you're like, oh, wait. It'll be on the slide deck. The other thing is you're getting a preview for a new YouTube series that I have coming out. It's not like self-promotion. I have a blog where I blog. If anybody goes on, I usually have a project every week and then some sort of troubleshooting tip or guide. So all of these will be short little 2-minute videos coming out every week. And so there's a few out there already. But if you're looking at some of these going, that's great, but I don't really know what he's talking about, they'll eventually be coming out. It's just part of what I do. I'm just a nerd that likes to do this stuff for fun. So there's all that for you. That's basically me in a nutshell. Just a tall, bald, nerdy, ugly guy that just likes to do these kind of things. So this is what it is, hacks and tricks. And so as we get going here, I shared this. I see some familiar faces from yesterday, so you already know what's in store here. But I personally have one goal anytime I do a session with people, and that's to make sure that you don't feel like this about the session. No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 I swear you can find an office split for anything in life. But instead, I want you feeling like this. As I shared with my friends yesterday, she has the greatest move of all time. Just gonna wait for it. That's pretty good move, too, though. Don't you just make me feel good? So here's the goal. My goal is all these different things that you can literally use tomorrow, as I talked already. Less theory and more reality. We have a lot of theory talk in education, but the realities are, good Lord, you see tons of kids all day long, 48 emails, everything else, and get your social security, a master of everything in your domain, which is just not realistic. Enhance some of your prior learning. Some of you guys might have better tips than what I share. Please share them with me so I can keep learning. Understand the importance of tinkering, just sharing my nerdy wisdom, and most importantly, have some fun while we get after it. So here's my criteria as I went through over, a couple beers, like a case or so, trying to figure out what I would share with you is this. 1, these tips have to be cheap, either free or don't cost you anything. Number 2, applicable to any learning space. So whether you're talking with preschool kids or high school kids, this could be infused in these spaces. Quick and easy. Follow-up support, so that's where the YouTube and the blog posts will be, and you can always email me with any guidance if some of these things you need more help on. And I try to make them that they all fit the criteria of stupid dumb. Like, the idea being that I hope half of you go, yeah, I knew that since I was 12. Because the idea being that if somebody doesn't know that, like, that's a good aha moment that they feel good about using. So none of these are super complicated. And then as always, we gotta have some fun. So we're gonna get moving here just a little bit, and those that were with me yesterday, you're gonna have to be smart with all these things I'm throwing at you. So I need everybody to stand up. It's tight space. You're not gonna have a whole lot of room to work, but you need to find yourself a partner somewhere next to you. You've got 1 minute to go.
You guys partner. Oh yeah, so you want to see it? Okay.
before we get rocking and rolling.
I just wanted to warn you, one of these tunnels leads to the troll tree, and the others to...
certain death.
Do you think you can tell us which is the right one?
You bet.
Great!
No, that's okay. We're fine, thanks.
Branch, he's trying to help us.
I don't like the looks of him.
He seems to know what he's talking about.
Okay, fine. Which way do we go?
First, you have to give me a high five, then I'll tell you.
I don't do high fives.
Slap it, boss.
Not gonna happen.
Here, just do this, but with your hand.
Thank you for that demonstration. Really cleared up exactly what I will not be doing.
Branch, it's a high five. The others lead to certain death. Get perspective.
All right, I'm gonna let you slide with a fist bump. Whoop! Shark attack! No. Jellyfish, hand sandwich, turkey, snowman, dolphin, helicopter, last supper, monkey in the zoo. What? Gear shift. Okay. Now I'm thinking we hug.
Alright, so really quick, with your partner, you're going to create a unique handshake just for you and your partner. The caveat has to have 4 transitions. There's have 4 little parts to it. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to make sure you take it out. Let's go.
Okay, yep, so 1, 2, 3. Just keep it at 3, so and then go across this one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So 1 brave set, maybe 2, then we'll get into, I promise to get to tools and tips and tricks. I want to share off their awesome handshake. Any brave souls? I want to put anybody on the spot. You guys want to go? Yeah, go. Awesome. Yeah, that's you. Crusher, stage break. Sweet. So go ahead and just find a seat here. You can go back. You can come back to your seat. We'll come back to our partners here in a little bit. So what I like to do this one, it just kind of makes you feel good. High five always makes you feel good. More importantly, we can talk tips, tricks, we can talk apps, we can talk all these things at this conference all day long. But at the end of the day, we know how important the culture is. You hear that message all the time. So what I like to challenge us with is this is a great way to have an accountability partner. More importantly, think about if you guys were to do this back at your school with your staff and you had these high fives. And I think about the teacher that just come into school with a really rough day. Maybe there's something in their personal life, or maybe professionally they're just burning out, or that kid that's coming with, you know, kids have so many variables in their lives, and they see 2 grown-ass adults do us awesome high fives. That might be all that's needed to turn that day around for them to be like, it's going to be an okay day. These are little subtle things. And so we're going to talk tips and tricks, but I just love doing this because it's really hard to do a high five and be grumpy about it. I mean, you can always find somebody, but in general, most people are there. So a lot of these things came from me just making mistakes. So I make more mistakes than probably anybody. You can ask my wife to see the destruction of our basement and see all sorts of mistakes that have been made over time. And so my goal here is to create this aha moment with a lot of these tips and tricks, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Like, most people didn't realize, like, I just found this out like last week, that that's where the lid of the Gatorade bottle was supposed to go. Like, that's why there's that little suction. I just thought it was just to drive us nuts with water all over your lap with the plastic wrap when you pull out of the cooler. You know, I'm like, oh, well, heck, where was that for the last 30 years of my life, right? So that's what I hope we have some of these moments. So the first one we're going to take a look at is some tips under the idea of organization. When I had my wife preview this, she just laughed because she's like, you organize, like, it's just not happening. But I do have some tips. The first one, super obvious duh. Clear containers. I can't stress this enough. It is the way to go with everything. And I know it's sometimes you find bargain deals on bins, but think about kids. I think about kids that maybe can't read. I think about just kids going into the makerspace and sometimes unsupervised. Like I couldn't be in the makerspace all the time. I had other duties in my life, but I couldn't, because I couldn't be in the space, it can't be a hindrance for kids not to be able to get the materials they need to build and learn. And so clear containers, they can go, oh yeah, rubber bands, need it, boom, done. And so these are my favorite, and I'll put links in these notes when I share the slides underneath in the notes for the presenter, you'll see the links. These are sterilite, I love the way they stack. You usually get 2 on a shelf, and they're usually like the perfect size to have just about everything you need. So I think I have them in the container I'll pull out. So that one's pretty obvious. This is, you don't have to have this one, but a label printer. And so these run about between 100 and 150, maybe even more. But this allows you to create print labels, regular size, small size. I use them for mailing out letters and packages, but it allows me to label everything. I just have a general template, boom, it's done. Not only labels for the containers, I also use this to reward badges in my makerspace, when I had a makerspace. And so I have a whole template of badges that kids could earn. And they're just stickers, I have poster board, and then boom, we have a visual chart. It's kind of like a data wall, but like for kids you get excited about, like, right? Like boom, this kid knows how to solder, this kid knows how to 3D print, and then we would work levels. Once they got to a certain level, then they were just part of my support staff. So if I wasn't in the makerspace, they could look on the wall and be like, oh, Aiden, he can do this 3D print stuff. And we would work with the principal, and I would have teams of different tools. They could pull those kids at a moment's notice to help troubleshoot and solve. And so sometimes you need bigger containers, clears it for everything. So this is where the labels come in handy. So this is how I organize all my workshops and presentations that I have now. It's just real visual, boom. Most of you already are probably experts at labeling. What I find to be most helpful, especially with kids in an open space where they're using materials, is they're least likely not to just dump random stuff in bins. Because if it's cleanup time and there's no label, they're going to cram stuff in every nook and cranny possible. At least if they can say it's a Lego and they got a handful of popsicle sticks, most won't dump it in there. Most. You always have that one kid that's just going to drive you insane. Dot stickers. Use dot stickers as color codes for different accessibility, for how you want to use stuff. So one example, if I have bins, whether they're sorting trays or paint trays or just buckets or containers, and they have a green dot, that tells a kid in our space, you can use it as much as you want and keep it. I don't need it back. So if you're going to put glue on a pom-pom, please don't give me the pom-pom back. Like it's yours or dump it. If I have yellow, those are my tools. Like these here. So we have someone making a gummy bear LED. Like I want this back. So I would put a yellow sticker on there. Feel free to use it, because you might need this back in your teacher's classroom, but I just need it back. And then red would be adult supervision. So hot glue, solder iron, power tools, depending on what you have, and depending on your comfort levels. Anything red, they have to have an adult with them in order to use that. Another way, an awesome media specialist that's in Bettendorf, she uses them in a different way. And so she does it where it's more just for safety reminders. Green, so she's elementary, green is just a green light, have at it, similar. Yellow just means that they have to check with her for safety reminders. So she has a safety protocol that she just runs through and then they're free to go. And then red, those doors are actually locked. And so when you're dealing, I know when you're dealing with younger kids, you have to have maybe some different parameters. Older kids too. I worked in middle school, and sometimes I acted like they were 3, most kids. So, but so those are just some ideas of how you can use dot stickers. I've seen people use them where they have containers labeled by color based on activity. So like all your LED stuff might be red and some, whatever else. So those are cheap and just easy ways to navigate, and they're visual for kids. Because anything that takes a while to do, they're not going to do. They'll just ignore it. So here's an example of a makerspace when I was at middle. And this is nothing too fancy, but another way of organizing. We had these organized by accessibility. So everything on this shelf was off limits. Kids could not take. That was my stuff. This was coffee shelves corner here. This one here, they had to check out, or these two here, they had to check out. So they had to come to me, we had to sign a clipboard. I just had to know where the stuff was. Teachers took things all the time. So if they're taking my 30 solder iron, I just got to know where they are in case somebody else needs them. And then this shelf here was just free reign. Take them and go, I don't care if it's gone, just come back and tell me that they're all gone, I'll replenish. So this is like getting rid of my hoarding tendencies, you know, things that I want people to use, but I don't have time to teach, and stuff like I wouldn't be in charge of. It's super awesome. So just think about ways in your space in which you can organize visual cues. Taking inventory. So this is actually for my Lego workshop this afternoon. This part sucks, but having a backup way every once in a while to take inventory of what you have. So as I do lots of workshops and presentations, I tend to lose pieces. People drop them on the floor, or they put them in their pocket, or whatever happens. Same thing happens with kids. So have some sort of system where you can file through and see what you're missing. A lot of people are like, I don't know what I need. And I'm always like, well, what do you not have? You know, you might think you have a class set of 30. You know, I have 30 solder irons, but if 26, you know, the only one's working, we've got a bigger problem now. If I send these off, they don't work. Teachers will give up very quickly. Think about repurposing items. This is a plastic shelving thing we had in my nonprofit. We didn't have anything on it. I didn't want to throw it away because maybe I'll use it down the road. So as opposed to just dumping it, we repurposed it, and it's how we held our cardboard in place. And so we just called it like the craft corner, and that's just where all the cardboard was. And at any given time, I could always put the cardboard out to recycle, and I could always turn those into a shelf if we had some sort of presentation or something we needed it for. So I wasn't eliminating it, but I wasn't creating dead space either. So you might have these things. You might have this piece of furniture. You might have something that you're like, I just don't have a purpose for it. How could you repurpose it knowing that down the road you might need it? And so just kind of think through those ways. Other things in terms of organization, if you use batteries, and so like coin cell batteries, which I just love, especially with all the LED stuff we do, having it in a big bulky container where it's only maybe using a small part of that container is a waste of space. So I take old refrigerator magnets, and you can hot glue these down or put them somewhere on another metal surface, and the batteries stick to them. So now they're in place, they're not rolling on the floor, the custodians aren't getting mad that they're always sucking up batteries and Legos and everything else, and they're always right there. So I would have one for these smaller batteries, and I have another one, other magnets for like my coin cell. They don't really work, I wouldn't advise like your D or A batteries, but for these smaller ones, for a lot of those projects. And you can do this with screws, nails, and anything else that's kind of metal that you can sort that way. When it comes to wires, so I don't know about you, but I have 80 million wires and like 4 outlets, or I did. Like I didn't have enough outlets to keep everything plugged in. And so trying to help kids not plug in a wire, I finally bought a power drill, and the kids snapped off. They tried to cram in the wrong cable and snapped it off and ruined the drill. How do we help kids like not do that? It wasn't intentional. So I just used the bread label thing, not bread labels, but that thing. I don't know what the name is for it. And we just write on Sharpie what the cable goes to. So everyone knows this was the cable to the vinyl cutter. You know, this works really well, especially like even with your own iPhone charger. So we have like in our house, like kids have it. They're always trying to steal my wife's and my iPhone charger. You know, not that it's going to prevent them, but at least they know, like, dude, that's mine. So this is cheap and easy. You just have to eat bread. So if you're on a diet, then maybe not. So another way to do this, on the side of your desk, you can use binder clips. And so I have workbenches where I might have my vinyl cutter, a 3D printer, I might have my drill press, some sander, or whatever I've got going on up there, and I don't want wires all over. I want to eliminate trip hazards and have something happen. So I just put binder clips onto the side, and I just keep all the wires ready to go so I can plug in when I need. And so what you do is you can squeeze right here on these binder clips, those pop off. So then I hook them, you know, with the bigger outlet parts here that don't fit through on their own, and then I just stick it right back into the binder clip. So this is cheap and easy. Kids can do this. I don't know if you have like docking stations and stuff in your space. It's just an easy way to kind of keep those wires at bay. If you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, you take a cardboard box and toilet paper tube. It's a great way to organize your wires. It doesn't cost you anything except for just eating food and having to get rid of it, right? So you've got that. And if you don't want to go that route, if that's like, oh, that's just too gaudy for me, that just looks too cheap, you could drink beer. I know Sam's at Oktoberfest right now. This is a great sorter. You just got to spray paint the box, so you obviously can't bring in a beer box, but you spray paint it. And this also works really well for like holiday ornaments for your own personal house sorting pleasures. So just think about different ways in which you don't have to spend money. And if a kid ruins this, I don't care. In this case, I just have to drink another case of beer, right? So let's move on. Lego minifigs are awesome in a variety of ways. You probably have seen these on Pinterest. They show up all the time. This is the one I really like. I hot glue or super glue my push pins, and I use these bigger ones just so you can see in the video. The flat ones are actually even better. They have like the metal flat pin. You glue these on, and now not only do you have like decorative push pins for your corkboard, but this is how we hold our cables. So how do we get stuff off the floor and off shelves? I can have a corkboard, which you can buy cheap, and I can just have all my cables on the wall. When a kid needs it, they just pull it off. And you can combine that then with like that bread tag, that's what I was thinking of earlier, and then boom, they would know what to grab. I need the vinyl cutter tag, plug it in, away they go. Yeah, you're dealing with the push pin, you know what, so be it, they pinch each other with it, you know, deal with it. This one I just learned actually from Colleen Graves, who's an amazing, well, she was a librarian. She now works for MakeGeeking full time, and I just love her to pieces. But she shared this in her tool rack. So this is just a magnet bar. I think IKEA sells it even cheaper. If you're an IKEA fan or you need an excuse to get to IKEA, you just take a magnet strip and then you hold it across, and for her, this is how she sorts all her alligator clips, which obviously she needs quite a bit of for making. But you can use this for anything magnetic. Same kind of principle. So how do you just get things, I'm always trying to figure out how to get stuff off the floor. How do I get more floor space? I need more floor space when my kids can create, move, and the more I try to organize, I feel like all it does is just closes in the walls. So I'm really big on trying to figure these things out. So I saw this, I think she posted it this weekend, and I was like, that's a great idea. And I love the other one she has up here too, how she has like the glue sticks and the little bags and stuff there. It's pretty good too. I love Altoid tins. These work really well for magnets. Here's how I sort all my magnets. I have a pegboard wall, so I can just screw the Altoid tin, the lid itself, underneath one of the shelves. I can just pull it down as needed. So I know where they always are. And so we use magnets for a lot of different things. I know magnets could be a hazard for younger kids, but just it's an easy way to sort and organize those, so you don't have to use a lot of space to keep them stored. I don't know, do we have anybody who does First Lego League? I thought there might be a few. Oh, okay, only a couple, so most of you will not care about this one. But when it's not First Lego League season, we cover our table with a sheet of plywood. And if you want to get really creative, you just add a cheap, a couple layers of paint. You got a ping pong table, so you can have a little brain break act within your makerspace. And you just pull a piece of plywood off during FLL season. And this becomes a great workbench. You can't ruin the plywood. It doesn't matter. It doesn't cost you anything. And so if you're not FLL, there's only like 3 of you, so the rest of you are like, well, screw that, let's move on. Okay, so think about your dead space. So for me, I have a makerspace in my basement. And so I just took this old scrap piece of wood and drilled it, I know everybody has this in your classroom, into my subfloor, and that's how I store all my PVC pipes up. So you may not have access to your ceiling, but I share this with the idea of think about in your space where you have dead space. Just you're not quite sure what to do with it, it's not a good fit, you never quite figured out what to put there. How can you use that for storage? How do you reconfigure things to get your stuff into that space so you don't have dead space? Because everywhere in your space should have a purpose as you think about those learning spaces. This one here has stood the test of time. We've had this. My son's in 8th grade, and we've had it since we were 5, and I've made tons of these. This is a Lazy Susan we bought from IKEA, so there's reason number 2 for you to get to IKEA. These are buckets. We also got IKEA, you can get them at the dollar store. And so your materials spin, and then we just screwed them in. You screw them right into Lazy Susan, and you've got these cheap little things, and this whole thing costs us like 20 bucks. And you can just replace those materials out as needed. So if you have like tables like this, these are perfect to have in the middle of the table. So kids don't have to get up all the time, but there is some movement, they'll spin them around and get what they need. You can kind of organize that. That works for a general classroom as well. I mean, it doesn't always have to be makerspace stuff, if you kind of think about it. I think about sample boards. So kids need visuals. They don't know what they don't know. Just like us. That's why you're here at iTech, to learn things you don't know. And so I like to think of these as like the anchor charts for making. So one of the things that we have, this is just 11 ways to cut cardboard and use cardboard to strengthen builds and design. So we use this in my Make Yourself into a Maker workshop series. And so teachers build these, they have them on display. So as kids are working and designing with cardboard or whatever your medium is, they're not quite sure how to build something, they can reference this. And then what we do is we start our units. So I have a teacher that I'm working with now, and they're moving into creating pinball machines out of cardboard. And so the first step is to teach kids cutting techniques. Kids don't know how to use tools. They're not exposed to it anymore. So how do you hold a knife? How do you cut? What those techniques look like? And then more importantly, you have to go through and prove that you can make we have 11 on this one, 11 different techniques that are going to enhance your pinball machine. So once they do this, then they can move into the actual project design. So we allow them to kind of work through these. And I've seen this with like hummingbird. I've seen people have like a really nice hummingbird where every light and sensor they can mess with it so they can see how they all work in one shot. So then the kids can go back and build their designs. So just kind of think about things that you're working on and where are the visuals that help them kind of see like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And so this is great. It's cheap and easy. This was an image of the nonprofit that I have, but the reason I'm sharing this is you don't always have money for material. You don't always have a ton of money to buy like the furniture, and so we've been making them. We've been making all our stuff and working with teachers to build their tables. But the thing that I like to think about is, I call them mathematical tables, creating different sizes of tables, but yet you can configure them in all sorts of different situations. And so we like 2 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot tables, and always 2 feet wide. And so we can configure them, and here if I need everybody together for this project, we can. If I need to spread them apart for another activity, I can, and everything's on wheels. So we build these tables, like the 6 foot table, with the most expensive part of the castle wheels. So we build those for about $30. And then if they ruin them, you just unscrew the top and put a new one on. So those are the things that we can start to think about. These are just old fence posts right here. Just paint them and make them look nice. So you know, when people have like both ways, they usually drive around and steal all people's fences and all that good stuff. So some ideas around planning. So if you're thinking about planning, one, super obvious, but you know where your first aid kit is. I work with 21 school districts, and a lot of times I go to their makerspace, first thing I ask is, where's the first aid kit? And they usually can't tell me. They know it's somewhere. Well, I had it over here. So I can't stress enough, the last thing you want to have happen is have an injury and not be able to, not just say, go to the nurse. Right? You want to be able to resolve those things. A lot of times it's just little cuts or burns or things like that. Just, you know, where's that? Just a good little self-check while we're all getting this together. Safety glasses are huge. And so I have kids wear them no matter what. Like, you can't get back eyesight. You get something in your eye or something bad happens. And so we always err on the side of caution in safety glasses all the time. And then the one thing I didn't show, those are in my LED session yesterday. You can take the LED throwaways and put them on the side, and they can have light up safety glasses. Kids think that's pretty cool. And I always like to say, if you get into soldering, it scares a lot of people if you haven't soldered, but it's awesome, and every kid should learn how. It just makes life so much easier. But I always tell teachers there's 2 people who solder, those that have burned themselves and those that will. And you can look at this person here holding this solder iron, he's about to burn himself. You look at the way he's holding it. Good Lord, I'm about to catch my table on fire too. And so just keep those things in mind as you go through. My rule with hot glue, never test it with your finger to find out if it's cooled down, because every time you do, you're going to find out that no, it hasn't. You have to look at it and go, oh yeah, that's cool. Every time I touch it, it's like, ooh, that's hot. So common sense, but kids will do this all the time, and then it sticks, and then it burns. And my 7-year-old just did it, and she freaked out and flung it, and it burned her leg, and good Lord, man, such drama is ridiculous. She's like, just don't touch it. Proper attire. Okay, and you're looking at this picture. This just happened to me like 2 months ago. Like, I'm guilty. Like, I did this, and someone happened to capture it, which is even worse. So we were building a 3D printed snow globe with LED lights in there. So we had to use a Dremel to stand out some of the parts. You can see the Dremel, and you can see her hair. You can obviously tell the Dremel just got a hold of her hair. We got really lucky. We got it out. Thankfully, we got it out. But hair, loose items, loose baggy sleeves, necklaces, man, get all that stuff tucked away. Even if you don't think there's an issue for a problem, like, you don't want any reason for people to try to shut down your work. And there are people that are just waiting to find one excuse to shut this whole thing down, because you can't put it into a spreadsheet. So you have to just be aware of that. And obviously, number one, the safety of your kids. I like this Richard Feynman technique, and it's the reason why I have a blog. It's the reason why I have YouTube. It helps me. It's that mock teach for mastery. So anytime you're going to do something, teach it to yourself, like, and work through it. Like, do you know, can you explain how to make a gummy bear LED? You don't have to record it, you don't have to post it, you don't have to make it public, but go through that and just be like, and look for those glitches that if you're not sure how to explain that, you need to go back and brush up on that before you go and present to the kids. I also know about the Kenny Rogers logic. This is one I probably, it's the advice I give, probably need to do a better job of. You know, the good old lyric, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away. So I like to think about it, the extent to which you don't want to stop working because you're so pissed off, I believe is directly relational to the amount of time which you need to do so. So if you're finding yourself getting super angry, just get away from it. Same thing with kids. As they're building and making, many kids are not primed and prepared for failure. They're not ready to mentally handle things not working. The expectation just hasn't been there, the support hasn't been there, and we live in a society where it's just unacceptable. So as you're working through these, where is your quiet space? And quiet space doesn't always have to be decibel. Quiet space is where can I go to just gather myself? I just need to get away from this before I get super angry. And that's not true. That's not with making. That's with anything. So if you think about your space, oftentimes we would just have a corner, we'd have a desk, a computer, and maybe we'd have to go over there and just watch a YouTube video, whatever they need to do. And everybody knows that Bobby's over there. We don't mess with Bobby. Like that's up for Mr. Maurer to go figure out how to do. And sometimes you just need a break. So kind of think about that. The 10% order rule, I always like here, whenever you think you're going to need, add another 10%. Think about all the extra trips you probably do for home improvement repairs where you're going back to Lowe's for the 48th time and you're no longer talking to your spouse and you're so mad that you're making another stupid trip that probably should have been done yesterday. Same thing for your class. If you're doing these supplies, always order 10% more. You're just going to make mistakes and it's going to keep it from hindering the projects that you make. Whatever you think it's going to be for time, double it. That's true for anything in life, but especially making. And this one here is really well, I like to use this with kids. So as we start to think about passion projects, we start to think about kids that want to build something extravagant, they get really excited, and they're going to like, you know, build the next, you know, Tesla car or whatever. I always say we got to pick two. They can be built well, they can be built quickly, they can be built cheaply. But you can't do all three. And so a lot of times if they're not willing to put in the time to build it well, then we go quickly and cheaply. And every once in a while you have those kids that'll take it to the nth degree, and that's fine. So this is just a good framework as kids present projects to me when I work in the makerspace, where I said, well, which two are you going to pick? If you pick built well, we're going to be spending lots of time outside of the classroom together, if you're really going to do it right. Planning. So your engineering notebooks, you have kids with these and they're sketching their ideas or even your own projects. One thing that's really important to do is this is an LED project we were working on. I just take plastic sheets. Used to be the old overhead projector sheets. Back when you had like the messy hands. But you can do this with anything, just any sort of plastic. You cut it to the size of the notebook, and they can lay it on top, and they can work through their problems. So that way they're not wasting tons of paper. They can keep troubleshooting their ideas. Or you too, if you're trying to figure out your own project. And so that's probably what we should have done. We're trying to figure out the circuit blocks today. Why in the world did it shouldn't have actually worked, but it did, but it shouldn't have. We could have backed that up that way. When it comes to making, so there's my wonderful daughter, and there's her kitchen half the time. Old material, like old tile, so like Home Depot or your local home stores, if they have like scrap tile or scrap cupboards or things that they don't need, we use that to protect our tables. So we always have things, it doesn't have to be huge. Like sometimes we just need our tables for writing and actually not making messes. But when we need to do that, we'll just clamp down covers on top. And so I have a school I work with and we just cut, he's got round tables like this, but he shares a class with the teachers. So we just cut a bunch of round plywood so we can throw that right on top and it doesn't really matter if we mess it up. We just take it and stack it on the corner of the wall so the other teacher doesn't have to deal with the plywood. So find these scraps. So for me, I have a local hardware store, and they just keep everything for me. I called them up, I said, I'll take any scraps you have the whole time, I'll deal with them. But every month I go and pick up tons of garbage. But I keep what's good, and I get rid of and give it out to other people or just put it in both ways. When it comes to making big circles, if you don't have a huge compass, there's lots of ways to do this. This is just a piece of scrap drywall. You can do it with scrap wood, doesn't really matter. You can do a push pin and a string. You hammer the nail in the middle, puncture your pencil through whatever it is of your circle, and that's how you make big circles. So when we have National History Day, we work with all our kids, and I work at the middle. we're always trying to figure out circles. And they always want a big thing, big fancy thing for their design. And so we would just teach kids this technique. They're like, oh, that's pretty easy. Like, yeah, it is. So you can just reuse that board over and over again. And so here's just the same thing. I just put a push pin and tie a string around your pencil, and the same kind of thing. So then it leads into, you can cut it with just regular box cutters, work really well. You can sand cardboard. A lot of people don't know that. So if you're cutting cardboard and you want it to look nice and polished, 300 grit. If you go less than that, it'll actually shred it. But 300 grit or higher, you can get a really nice polished edge to your cardboard, and then you can get things that look really nice. This is that Pleasant Valley Junior High where my wife works. So this is that circle, and just with a little bit of elbow grease, we can get things looking pretty nice. This is a designer that had people put their hands for their projects they were working on. This thing's a big monster. I don't know, it's like 10 by 12 feet or something. Spray paint is a godsend to cover up all things ugly. And so I love spray paint, and I actually love to have kids spray paint. I love it when they go through and come back and their hands are all blue or red. Like, oh, you didn't spray paint right. But spray paint is great to have around. So this was a fake firework that I built for a project I just did last Friday. This is styrofoam to look like bricks. And then the thing I think about spray paint, because not everybody uses it, I just did a workshop with some teachers, and they had like a spray can, like a nano inch from like what they were spraying. It just ran. They're like, this looks terrible. I'm like, yeah, it does. You didn't miss it. So what you need to do is you have to spray paint it. It's 10 to 12 inches away, and you start outside of your object. For those that have a spray paint, you never start directly on the object. It looks fine. Some of you are like shaking your head like, duh. Like, yeah, but a lot of people don't know that. And so you can see here, we were making reading labs and this thing. And yes, it was a really great camouflage look. You know, you have a new artistic look. You know, it's not green, it's camo. Here's the thing with young kids with hammers and nails, which I know scares some kids, but young kids can do this. So you take an old comb. The comb is what holds the nail or hands away from it, and then they can hammer. That works for middle school kids too. It's amazing how many middle school kids have never held a hammer. It's just put a hammer on and just watch kids just look like they're trying to speak a new language. So that's just an easy way. So on picture day, I'll always think about combs on picture day, just keep them all. There's all your finger protectors. This is hard to see. Kids, if you use drills and kids strip out the screws, and you don't have the special bit for it, or it's just not what you do, it's not what you have time for, you stick a rubber band on top of it, and it grips it. Kind of like those old like rubber grips that you try to get undo like the pickle jar. It's the same kind of concept. But it's a rubber band, and then it usually knocks it out. Christmas lights are the godsend. So if you're looking for LEDs or any kind of projects where you need lights, I always tell people Christmas lights. Your old Christmas strands, only like half of them work, are perfect. Or after the holidays when they're on sale, you can cut these, and these are all your LEDs. So for like $2-3, you can have 100 LEDs. You can cut, strip them, and you have them for any project. Kids' room, step on them, whatever, doesn't matter. And so I always recommend that. People are always asking about buying LEDs, and like half the time you probably have 4 or 5 strands in your house, and for some reason you don't get rid of each holiday, and then you get mad when you put on the tree and it doesn't work. And you're like, oh yeah, that was from last year. You know, take those in and cut them up. I have a video on this, so if you want to dive into more detail, cardboard cutting tools. Does anybody have a zip snip? We got a couple. This is the greatest thing ever for cardboard and any kind of crafting material. This thing cuts through cardboard like butter. I would use it with older kids. It's really pretty hard to get your finger in there, but young kids, obviously, anything with power, you need adult supervision. So this is really more for me, where you can cut strips of cardboard like in seconds. Or burlap, or foam board, or anything, it just goes. Scissors are the worst. Just so you know, it's like I ranked this came to last place in the video, because it bends the cardboard. This is the MakeGeeking knife, so I'm dealing with young kids. I don't want any sort of cut. The MakeGeeking kits are amazing. You could I always demo and rub it on trying to cut my arm and it doesn't cut. You can 3D print these. Box cutters are great, but most people don't want kids in the hands of kids. This one here is a little tiny compass with a little X-Acto knife blade, so you can cut little precise circles to precision. Works really good with cardstock and cardboard. And then this is the mecca of cardboard tools. This is called the canary knife. And I've seen it for years. I'm always like, do you really need a special cardboard knife from Japan?
And I finally said, you know what, let's just find out. And this thing is amazing. So you can like literally puncture anywhere in cardboard, and it cuts so fast. Like you don't need any pressure. I should have brought some, but this is phenomenal little tool. It runs, I don't know, 15 bucks maybe. Think about a 3-pack for like 18. This is awesome. And it's got blades on both sides. Yes, you can cut yourself, but for a lot of kids that aren't strong enough to do bigger projects, this is a great way to do it, or do it for them. Hot glue is like my favorite tool or my favorite material of all time. I had the circuit blocks out earlier, but hot glue can work as an electronic insulator to keep everything in place. It covers up the wires so nothing's exposed. You can also make molds out of hot glue. So you take Lego, you build like a little Lego base. Say there's a toy or there's a piece that you need to make copies of, you can put it in there, you cover it with hot glue, let it dry, there's your mold, and then you can cast and mold if there's any casting and molding. So we used to do a project, kid would design one checker piece on a 3D printer, or 2 checker pieces. We 3D print that out, and we cast and mold and make our own checkerboard, as opposed to 3D printing 900,000 pieces and wanting to die waiting for it. If you got stuff all over your floor, cheap piece of wood, hot glue a magnet, you just walk around and pick up anything that's metal. So it helps your custodian's life, like carpet like this, there's probably LEDs all over. I don't want to keep buying them, like just walk around and just, boop, boop. It's kind of like a metal detector, just doesn't cost you anything. Same thing with a hammer. Put a magnet at the bottom of your hammer that holds your nails. So it's really easy, so you don't have to like put it in your mouth or in your pocket or whatever else goes on in your building techniques. If I'm teaching kids to do stuff with the power drill, I take painter's tape and tape a level on, so it helps them learn how to drill in a straight hole. So they're not drilling all over God's creation. And this last one, general reminders. This is not perfect, but I think it's going to be. Amazon required this lady's company. And what Amazon has on the app, so if you have the Amazon app, there's a little icon, there's a camera next to the search icon up here. And then as you go through, they actually have a list called a part finder. So say you have this one piece and you're like, I don't know what this is, I don't know what it's called, but I know I need like 15 more. You can scan it, and then Amazon can analyze it, and it's only going to get better. It's not perfect. So like I did one the other day of like wire strippers that had like red handles, and it showed like heels, like 3-inch heels. I'm like, that's not really good. But it does work. And I think this is the AI that's coming. Like this is the stuff that's just going to be natural for everything we do. But you can play around with it. And so this one here actually showed what I needed. And so I think it's something to keep in your back pocket to be aware of as they keep building this stuff out. When it comes to tapes, this tape I use all the time, but it drives me nuts. Like the kids hold it too tight and then it runs, and then you end up wasting like 3 feet of tape, and then you're just mad. So put a toothpick on the end, or a paper clip, or something, and it keeps it all together. And it's easy to find the end and open it up and go. The other thing you do if you have a dispenser, I know they just seem so obvious, but you just put a rubber band across, it's the same kind of thing. That way it doesn't loop underneath, and then you lose the end of it as well. The WD-40 duct tape rule, if it moves and shouldn't, it's duct tape. If it doesn't move and shouldn't, WD-40. So we have like a sign in our makerspace for this for kids. Most of you know this, but kids don't. And a lot of them, they just like to just jack around with stuff. So that's the rule that we always adhere to. The other reminder, as dumb it is, don't be afraid to take your maker skills and use it at home. So we have a sign project. So I have a website called Making a Difference. So we're doing compassion making, creating projects to elicit culture. We've got 16 countries or classrooms from around the world, with refugee camps and everything. So we're making signs and so forth. And so my wife was like, why don't you make me a sign and do something for me? So I'm not bragging on myself, I'm just saying like, yeah, we should probably apply some of these things at home. So let's think about that. So the last thing, 'cause I know we're getting close to lunch. Were there any of those big, oh, that's so dumb, how did I not know that? Did any stand out? I'm just curious. This is my first time doing this session. I got a lot of videos, and we don't have to break down the whole presentation, but were there any you're just like, damn, where was that my whole life? All the combs and nails? Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Do you have your presentation linked to the?
It'll be on that page after the session.
Okay.
It's not on, I gotta load it up. So the last thing that I want to do, because I know I got to lunch late yesterday, and that sucked. That was just
not the way, I didn't get my chocolate cake. And, but here's what I want you to do, and you can ignore this too because you're grown adults, but what I would like for you to do is to write down one thing that you want to plan to implement. And then you're going to find your high five partner, you're going to high five them, you're going to switch goals, and then every time you see them in the rest of the conference, give them a high five. Make people look at you look goofy. I hope you found something useful. Thank you so much for your time.
I have to worry about it.